Okay, so I'm here on my Wave dashboard. So we are talking about connecting Stripe, and I'm going to show you two different ways to handle Stripe. So the first is the manual option. And what you're going to need to do is go to accounting and to the chart of accounts. If we're doing this manually, we have to create a Stripe account in Wave where we can record the income. Now, this is assuming that you don't invoice through Wave, or maybe you sell digital products, you sell physical products, you sell something that uses Stripe as the payment processor, and so the only thing that's coming into Wave is Stripe's deposit into your bank account. But we need to be recording your actual true sales in Stripe and adding in the expense of the fees. And then really the deposit in your checking account is simply a transfer. So what we're going to do, if we're doing this manually, we're going to add a new account, and it's going to be a cash and bank account. Or you can click right here, add a new account. Now, I've already done this, and I just called it Stripe. So we want to make sure it's under the cash and bank account. This is going to make your life a lot easier when you're trying to record things and transfers. So we're going to do that to Stripe. We're going to go over to transactions. Now, I'm assuming you already have connected your checking account to Wave. If you haven't done that, go do that. You can do it right here, connect your bank, and make sure your checking account is pulling in transactions. Then we're going to start to see things like this, Stripe transfers. This is what's called a net deposit. This is the amount of money you receive from Stripe after they've taken out their fees. So it is important. This is not your true income. If you're recording this as income, your reports are not going to reflect the accurate amount. This is why we do this. So because you've created your Stripe bank account, you're going to find these and you're going to choose the category and say that this is a transfer from a bank, credit card, or loan. And it's a transfer from Stripe. Now, when you do this, Wave may start to recognize that there's some other ones, or it may not. But we want to just mark all of these as transfers from Stripe. So keep going down, keep finding those, and it will start to show up. And you'll also notice, because we have all accounts listed here, this is all the Stripe account, the checking account, the PayPal account. This is just one giant list of all the transactions. So you can always filter up here by what bank account. So right now, if we just had checking, it would show these Stripe transfers, and we've marked them as transfers. Now, if we switch over to Stripe, we're going to see that there has created this automatic transaction on this side because Stripe is not connected in any way. You cannot directly connect Stripe to Wave through a connect your bank or an integration. They don't have it. So these will all come in, and now we need to manually enter your sales. And I like to do a once a month entry. This just makes it simpler. And honestly, most of us aren't looking at our reports more than once a month. So let me show you on Stripe where you need to go to get this data. Now, I've logged into my Stripe account. I've gone down here to business settings and to data. This is where you're going to need to go to get this information. This is what you'll see. And we want to download the monthly report. What this does is give you a Excel spreadsheet that has all of the payments and things that you've received basically since your Stripe account opened. So we could filter it a little bit to make it a little less overwhelming. But we're going to download it and open it. And yes, I'm using my own data, but Stripe is not the only payment gateway I use. So okay, so this is what your statement's going to look like. And you can see each column is a month. So this is going to go way back to whenever you opened your Stripe account. So what I like to do is you'll often have to spread these out. And this will always be a partial month unless you're doing it right on the 1st or the 31st of a month. So we want to ignore this. But say we want to enter in November's. Okay, we need to understand how to read this. First of all, we just want the numbers starting here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and highlight this so it's easy for you guys to see. Okay, then you need to know what these different rows are. So first of all is credit card payments. Most of us using Stripe receive payment through the credit card option. This tells you how many transactions went through Stripe and how many were credit card. This is the total dollar value of sales. So if I go back to Wave, I'm here in Wave, I'm here in Stripe, I'm going to be doing a month end entry. I'm going to add income. And this is going to be for November, right? So we want to make sure we go back and put it on the 30th of November. This is, I like to just call this Stripe sales. And it's going into your Stripe account. I need to look at the dollar amount. So let's go and see $940. Okay, $940. That's 94. $940 is the total amount of sales. And then you can select what income category. Now, if you really want to get detailed about your Stripe sales, let's say you have product and services going through Stripe, then this manual option is not going to give you as much detail than other ones will. So I'm just going to call this sales. You can add notes if you need to. So that is going to record the income. Okay, it's all just going to be counted as sales. There's not a customer associated with it. It's just there. So that's step one, is recording the income. Now we need to add the expense because this is the Stripe fees. Okay, so we want to make sure we record the Stripe fees. I need to go back to my statement. I'm going to see that the fees here were $28.75. That's a good chunk of change, like this is not something we want to be ignoring, right? We want to track this so we understand what we're paying. Now, oftentimes, the default set of categories in Wave does not have anything for that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new account right now. And this is going to be a payment processing fee. And I'm going to call this Stripe fees. So if you have Stripe and PayPal, I would suggest listing them separately in separate accounts, just because you want to verify the numbers at the end of the year in your Wave versus the statements that you get from Stripe or PayPal. Okay, so we've recorded that. Let's go back and look at our statement and check it over. The other thing you may find is down here, it'll say payments other. And that is if people are using the bank transfer option in Stripe. So there may also be a gross amount here and there may be a fee amount there. So you want to enter those. Also, if you have refunds, so if you have a credit card refund or if you have a bank charge refund, those will show up here, and it'll also show how much fees were returned to you, because when you refund through Stripe or anything, it will also refund the fees that they charged you. So let's pretend that you had to do a $10 refund and they gave you a $1 Stripe fee was returned. So this is actually going to be a negative number. So I'm going to show you how to enter that over here in Wave. So if we had a refund of $10, this is going to look weird. Click income. And we'll just still put it on the 30th. We're going to say Stripe refunds. Okay, so if we're entering a refund, it gets a little tricky because it is a withdrawal. And then when we come here to categorize it, we're going to say it's a refund for income. And you can either offset it against refund for sales, or you can just do refund for refunds. And that will track it properly in the refund account. Then we're also going to add the fee refund. Again, we're marking this all as November. This was $1. And when we come down here, we're going to see, oh, this is a refund for an expense. And when we start to search for Stripe fees, it's a refund for Stripe fees. That's going to put it correctly on your reports. So it's important that you actually figure out where, that it's a refund on an expense, okay? So there we have that recorded. You can always then come in and check down here. This is where it's like a bank statement where it says, this is how much you had in your Stripe at the beginning of the month. This is how much came in. This is how much went out. And this was your balance at the end of the month. And so when you're going to reconcile, you'll say this is your end of month balance. And that will allow you to reconcile in your Wave account. So now that we have that here, we will have a correct amount on our report. If we're looking at our profit and loss, it will have the sales income as the correct amount, and then we scroll down and it will have the Stripe fees. So the reason we have to do this is a manual process, the manual option for connecting Stripe. The other option for connecting Stripe is through Zapier. So remember that to use Stripe with Zapier, you cannot be on the free plan. They have a couple different paid plans. I myself am on a paid plan. I think I'm on like the starter one. So it's not super expensive, but if you have a lot of Stripe sales, it might be worth it. Or, Zapier, I use it for so many things. It's worth it for me to pay for Zapier because I'm not just using it to connect Wave and Stripe. If you're using it just to connect Wave and Stripe, it might not be worth the investment. It's up to you. So you're going to have to log into your Zapier account and make sure you're also on your Stripe account. So I usually have these 3 tabs open. I've got Wave, I've got Stripe, and I've got Zapier. On the Wave side, we're going to set up the Stripe payments a little bit different if you're doing it through the Zap. And so that is, we're going to put it down here in Money in Transit. So I had already created this new account here that says Stripe payments. That's for the manual option. This is for the Zapier option, okay? So we're going to go to Zapier and we want to connect Stripe and we want to connect Wave. Now, I have already connected my Stripe and my Wave account to Zapier here through connected accounts. If you have not done that already, I suggest doing that first. Then you'll be easier for you to go through this process of creating the Zap. So what we want to do is when we have a new charge, then we want to record the sale. And actually, if you notice here, they're like, hey, we already have this Zap that we've created. Do you want to go ahead and use it? Yes, I do. So when you type those in, you're going to find that it has this suggested one. We're going to use this Zap, and then we're just going to make sure that it connects to our account correctly. So when someone's credit card is charged in Stripe, I have my accounts connected there. You're going to have to connect it and test it. So right now, Zapier is looking for a sample transaction. Okay, so we'll just pick one, continue. We want to record that as a sale in Wave. This is the Wave account I have connected. See how it's much faster if you already have your accounts connected. All right, set up preview is cool. You can kind of see what happens. So in Wave, you can have multiple businesses on one login. So make sure you're connecting the right business. My sample company is coaching business. And then it's going to ask to make sure that these things are done right. So because we're using a pre-formatted Zap, it already has this in there. So don't worry about changing any of that part too much. But here on income category, you can only send it to one income category easily. You may be able to do some advanced formatting, but unless you are like a super expert in Zapier, I would suggest not worrying about that. You can always create an income category in Wave that's called Stripe Sales if that makes it easier for you. So whatever you have to have it created in Wave before you start here. So I'm going to put it as sales, and then it's also going to add the processing fee for us, and we want to make sure we have Stripe fees. So there we go. And the reason it recognizes this is because we set this up as a payment processor fee. Okay, and now it's going to ask us, what account does this go into? So we want this to go through Stripe Payments. Okay, continue. So we're going to send this test to Wave and see what happens on the other end. All right, we're done. We're finished. Click finish. And I'm going to turn my Zap on. So now my Zap is on every 15 minutes. Stripe and Wave will talk to each other. So let's come over here to transactions and we're going to refresh. Always want to refresh when you've connected new things. And this back to all accounts. So check this out, guys. Remember, we have two things here. So this is Stripe payments for the Zap. All right, look at the Zap. Check it out. It has zapped in this sale. So this was a sale that happened on my Stripe account. It says this was the total sales and this was the Stripe fee. And then it adds some notes and things. Bam, it's there. Now, it's going to record all of these and what's going to happen on the checking side for this option. Okay, so if we are using that option, then what's going to happen when we get to the checking here is that we are going to mark these as a transfer from Stripe Payments. Okay, so now we see this is a transfer from Stripe Payments. Let's go back to Stripe Payments. Stripe Payments again, and now it shows that it transferred to checking. So we'll be able to that income now will not be duplicated as long as you're marking the ones on the checking account as a transfer. So anything that you mark on that comes in here, we always want to mark as a transfer. We don't want to mark it as income because we're recording it as income either manually on Stripe or automatically through Zapier and the Stripe Zapier integration. So pretty sweet. Those are your two options with Stripe and Wave. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it was very helpful to you.